Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the BBC. This BBC has nothing to do with Britain. This is the BBC, the Big Buccaneer Channel, as in the Oceanside Pirates and Buccaneer Beach. Welcome to the BBC, the Oceanside station.
Coming to you from a car-sized drone hovering over Buccaneer Beach, this is the Oceanside Station, the Big Buccaneer Channel, www.osidebbbc.com. This is episode 32 for March 12th, 2025. And thank you for all the cards and letters we got. Wait, what? Oh, okay, we didn't get any cards and letters, but we did get a number of emails asking us to start sending you the new episode as it becomes available each Wednesday. And we heard from you at osidebbbc@gmail.com. And bear with us. It might take another week or so until we get it rolling. But again, that's osidebbbc@gmail.com. And before we talk about what we have this week, we wanted to remind you that next week we have some news about our favorite city councilman, C-Rod is his nickname, Christopher Rodriguez. What has he been doing since he left office? Well, we'll tell you. We have news on him. We didn't have time to get it in this week's episode, but we will next week. This week, we'll talk about the Ironman Triathlon. What a big event it is for Oceanside. Also, have you ever wondered about why some places have undergrounded their utilities and some don't? We'll talk about that. And openings and closings. What businesses are coming? What businesses are going away? And that would include restaurants. And also, the Del Mar Fair. Why are they spending $50,000 for a cover band? Well, we'll talk about that too and how it applies to those of us here in Oceanside who maybe can see a cover band for a fraction of what you have to pay to see a cover band at Del Mar Fair. We'll talk about that. And also, our meter reader, we're going to be grading something they're doing in the city of Carlsbad, and it shows in stark contrast the difference between Carlsbad and Oceanside. Can't wait to get to that. And also, for our happy hour, we're going to go to Felix's Barbecue. It's a great place. And for our deep dive, did you know that we have not one, not two, but 4 sister cities, and that 2 of those sister cities are sending some representatives and some kids to our city this summer? We'll talk about that. This is the Oceanside Station, BBC, Big Buccaneer Channel. Now, here's the news. The Ironman Triathlon, including a harbor swim and a bike race through Camp Pendleton, returns to Oceanside April 5th, and the coinciding Kids Ironman is April 4th. Last year, Visit Oceanside informs me that last year's Ironman brought in $4.9 million to our local economy. That is quite the boost. And so congratulations to everybody who benefited. and to Visit Oceanside, who helps stage this event. Meanwhile, Visit Oceanside, and I don't know if people know this, but Visit Oceanside, for every kid that enrolls in the Kids Ironman event, the Ironman event donates $5 to the City of Oceanside's Parks and Recreation Scholarship Fund. And for every $5 donated by Ironman to this fund, Visit Oceanside matches it with an equal $5 matching fee. And last year, they raised $4,000 to this fund, and that is very, very cool that happens. Meanwhile, Visit Oceanside's Leslie Gall reports that, remember when Vice President Vance came to Oceanside a few weeks ago, and he stayed at the Seabird, and he went to a wedding ceremony that was held both at the Mission Pacific and at the Seabird. Well, those restaurants, I think, did very well, but not only did those restaurants do well, but all those CHP officers and all those secret agent men stayed at other hotels, including the Spring Hill Suites and the Marriott, and their rooms showed an increase of 30 to 60 rooms increase in occupancy per night. Thank you to the Ironman, and we're glad to have you back April 5th and the day before with the Kids Ironman, April 4th. All right, so I don't know what you think, but when I see, overground utilities, all these lovely streets with trees and palm trees or what have you, and then we've got these hideous poles and all these utility poles with all these wires and stuff, to me that says hillbilly. It says, why can't we break out of our hillbilly past and underground everything? Well, it's easier said than done, of course, but I did not know this, but going forward, pretty much every new building needs to be undergrounded, or its utilities need to be undergrounded. Now, there are some exceptions. First of all, if the voltage is too high, that may impact it, or if it's an existing building that hasn't been torn down and rebuilt, if it's an existing building, they may not underground the utilities. Or, and this is just about to be completed and occupied, the new development at the corner of Hunsacker and Whaley, right there in Fire Mountain. They tore down all those wonderful old houses and put in all those high-density 8 new stack and pack units. Well, guess what? That was our state at work because of something called density bonus. And because one of those 8 new houses is going to be low income, affordable, that allowed them to skirt the mandate that they had to underground their utilities, and they didn't have to underground their utilities. So in exchange for stacking and packing and high densifying Fire Mountain there on the corner of Hunsacker and Whaley, they got an extra bonus. They didn't have to underground their utilities. Isn't that wonderful? Our state government at work. Now here's a segment we called Openings and Closings, where we talk about the ever-shifting, evolving business and or restaurant climate here in Oceanside. There are 4 food and drink establishments that are changing their menu. Now, there's an all-new menu at the Poorhouse on South Coast Highway in South Oceanside, and the old kitchen crew there is no longer, and there's a new gentleman who came in, and he is now in charge of the menu, and he gets to live or die by whatever food he presents, and he gets to keep all the profits from the food that he serves. And they start every day. They no longer serve lunch, but they start serving every day at 2:00. And they have some really cool stuff that they're offering there, like chicken croquetas, patatas bravas. It's supposed to be potatoes, but they call it patatas. Okay, fine. Chile guarito. I guess that means a little chili that likes to fight. I'm not sure. And then ceviche baja. I know what that is. You can't fool me. And then they also have mortadella melt. I would imagine that's a great big fat mushroom with maybe Swiss cheese on it. And again, they serve every day at 2:00, and it's at the Poorhouse in Oceanside. Meanwhile, just down the street, there is a new kitchen being installed at the South O Brewing, and it's going to supplant the outdoor pop-ups that are there most days, and they're still building that out. We originally thought it was going to be open in March, but these things take time, and that's still being put together. And then at Pacific Coast Spirit, they're going to be a new component. The new food component is going to be called the Mill Room, and that's going to be ready in about a month. And they're going to specialize in American gastropub. And so that should be open in about a month. And then Northern Pine Brewing, of course, that's right there on Horn Street at the top of the hill there. And we hear that they have a new food operator coming in there, and we tried to find out what was going on there, and we called them, but their phone is disconnected. So Northern Pine Brewing, we would urge that you get your phone reconnected. Yes, this is interesting. So the formerly Hello Betty's, it's at the top of this Spring Hill Suites. They are, I think it was at my high school reunion last June when they had a band playing upstairs there, and it was outdoors, and yet there were some problems with noise complaints, and that happens when you play outdoors on a rooftop and you're surrounded by hotels. Well, they want to have live music again, and they are now efforting and trying to work things out with the police and with the city to keep the decibel level down so that this new venue called the Surf Club can have live bands on the rooftop right there in downtown Oceanside, right near the beach. All right, the Del Mar Fair this year is June 11th through July 6th. And, if you're an entertainer and you can get a job there playing, at the grandstand stage, you're doing really well for themselves. I remember a few years ago, they had a band called Creedence Clearwater Revisited without John Fogerty, and they got like $50,000, which is outrageous, if you ask me, that you get the guys who don't matter to glom onto John Fogerty's creation and get 50 grand. Well, guess what? It doesn't stop. On the second day of the fair, there is a band called Foreigner, which is playing. The only problem is, well, there's two problems. One is the ticket price. it starts at $69 and goes up to $141. The other problem is that it's a cover band now. There are no original members in Foreigner playing in Foreigner. Isn't that cool? And so what this means is that you're paying a lot of money to see a cover band. For my money, I would much rather see two cover bands in one night on March 22nd at the Poorhouse when I can see a Van Halen cover band called Light Up the Sky. I guess that's one of their songs. I don't remember that one. And then an AC/DC tribute called CADC. See what they did there? And that's only $10. And that's only a fraction of $69. I say go to the Poorhouse and see these two cover bands instead of putting up with the Del Mar Fair and the parking and the fact there's no real people. Listen, if that's your kind of bag and you like that stuff, God bless you. And if you like Foreigner, good for you. But in my mind, Dirty White Boy by Foreigner may be the worst song ever made.
Be true to ya. You don't give a damn what I do to ya. I'm just a dirty white boy. 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 Dirty white boy.
Voted the best Indian restaurant by San Diego Magazine this year, Curry and More on Mission Avenue in downtown Oceanside is proof that A-list restaurants are right here in town. Stop by and say hello to owner-operator, chef, greeter, Obi, who actually won the 2020 edition of TV's Beat Bobby Flay. Curry and More makes everything from scratch, including such wonderful favorites as coconut chicken, lamb korma, chicken masala, and mango lassi. Curry and More lunch specials include your entree, naan bread, salad, rice, and lentils. Curry and More on the corner of Freeman and Mission. Open for lunch 7 days a week, 12 to 3, and then for dinner, 4:30 to 9, except Sunday when they close at 8. Curry and More, an Oceanside treasure. All right, last week we spoke with John Franklin, the mayor of Vista, to tell us what he's learned from 6 years of being on the city council in Vista and having that city sell cannabis legally through their 11 or 10 cannabis outlets, retail shops. And we got to start to talking about politics and other issues, and so we had to divide our discussion into two parts. And now here's our second interview, our second part of our interview with Vista Mayor John Franklin. All right, this is the Big Buccaneer Channel, the Oceanside station. We're speaking with John Franklin of Vista. We're going to switch gears here a little bit. And John, it's become known that you are running for Jim Desmond. He is termed out after 2 terms, 8 years, on the District 5 County Supervisor seat, and you are running for that seat. And it's a very desirable job. And I was thinking the other day, who has Oceanside sent to that seat? And there was Bill Craven, I think in the 60s. And then there was John McDonald, who was the president of Maricosta College. He taught my parents, I think, at Maricosta. And I also knew Bill Craven's son. And then there's, if you want to split hairs, Jim Desmond is now a
That's
resident
true.
of
He is,
Oceanside.
yes.
And you're running for that seat. And you're from Vista. Does it matter if you're Desmond was from San Marcos when he ran first, before he moved to Oceanside. Oceanside is the biggest city in District 5. Does it matter that much what city you're from, I guess is the question.
Well, I suppose it does. Oceanside's got a lot of pride, as it should. So does Vista, and all of our, San Marcos and Escondido all have great civic pride, and I think it does matter. Oceanside is the largest city with about 180,000 residents. Escondido's got about 150,000, and then Vista and San Marcos each have about 100,000, and then there are about 75,000 residents in the unincorporated areas. So, Oceanside is a very big part of this district, and what Oceanside thinks matters a lot.
When you start getting to the level of county supervisor, I guess you could say it matters on the city council level as well, whether you're Democrat or Republican, even though on the city council level it's supposed to be nonpartisan. But when you start getting up to the county level, it really starts to matter if you're Republican or Democrat. The only Democrat that I've heard that might be running for that seat is our own Deputy Mayor Eric Joyce. He's not yet announced. You announced about a year ago, right?
Well, I began exploring a little bit more than a year ago, and I began raising money and asking other public leaders if they would support me. I'm honored to be endorsed by Chief Rick Robinson, who's now a council member here in Oceanside, Mayor Dane White, the mayor of Escondido, and about 50. Folks can go to franklinforsupervisor.com or mayorfranklin.com to my website and see all the folks that are supporting me. But I have a lot of great endorsers, more than 50 of them now. And, I'm really proud the community is coming behind me and has said that they want me to do it. And you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you why I want to run for supervisor.
Fair enough.
I really love being mayor of Vista. And, I spoke to Esther Sanchez recently, and she told me, and I understand exactly how she feels. She told me how proud she was to be mayor of Oceanside, and it's a very fulfilling job and a very important one. But the reason I'm running for supervisor is because mayors really can't do their job if the county's not there to support them. And I'll tell you, county is like the one layer of government that we almost forget about in primary school. We think about our local government, which we usually think of as our city government. And then we have our state government and we have our federal government. Where does the county fit in all that? What does the county do? The County Board of Supervisors is the 5-member governing council of the 3.3 million person government of the county of San Diego. The funding for the sheriff's department is approved by the Board of Supervisors. The funding for the district attorney's office, the county health department, for adoption services and animal services. The County Board of Supervisors is the land use authority for the unincorporated, so that'd be outside of those 4 big cities like Oceanside. The unincorporated areas gets to decide what you can build and where. And but a lot of very, very critical functions of government. Fire prevention for all of our incorporated cities that are ringed by unincorporated area. The fire prevention and wildland management policy for the areas surrounding Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos, and Escondido are critical for fire safety in our communities. So a lot of very big responsibilities. But I'll tell you the thing that got my attention as a mayor. I've really focused on homelessness. I ran for mayor because I believed, and I still strongly believe, that I believed I could, and I believe I am making a difference on the issue of homelessness. But the county has such a strong role in this homelessness problem. To start with, the county mental health department is responsible for referring to the county's attorney, which is they call the general counsel for the county, who is hired directly by the Board of Supervisors and reports directly to the Board of Supervisors. And that general counsel receives a referral from the county mental health officers for conservatorship. Conservatorship is when somebody is too mentally ill to provide for their own health and welfare. Ronald Reagan, when he was governor of California in 1967, signed the Lanterman-Petraeus Short Act. It said that if you, among other things, fail to feed, clothe, or shelter yourself, or if you're a serial alcohol inebriate, that you could be placed in conservatorship, but you had to be adjudicated by a unanimous 12-person jury, and you had to have a lawyer to defend yourself. Those are constitutional rights. Can't be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And then under the LPS law, or Lanterman-Petraeus Short, you have the right to a patient's right advocate in the state of California, and you have the right to be diagnosed by a psychiatrist, a medical doctor. So after we do all of those things to protect the civil liberties of somebody who's mentally ill, and a 12-person jury unanimously renders a decision that this individual is a harm to themselves, then, when we drive past people every day on the streets, Ken, who are at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they're screaming at a light post. And we see people who are emaciated. We see people who are living covered in their own effluence. The conditions in these encampments are depraved. They're awful. And I've been in these encampments many times, and I've had many personal conversations with the people living there, got to know them personally. In San Francisco, they use conservatorship 11 times more frequently on a per capita basis than we do here in San Diego. Matter of fact, about 5 years ago, we had as many as 1,290 some people in conservatorship. Today, we have 380. We've de-emphasized and gotten away from conservatorship because Supervisor Nathan Fletcher thought it was the wrong way to go. Well, even Gavin Newsom has been a supporter of conservatorship, talked about it in his State of the State addresses, and we've got more money now than we've ever had before for mental health. And so we really have to ask ourselves, there's two groups of homeless people. The first group are the episodic homeless. The woman who lost her job or
Right.
Was divorced or left an abusive relationship. She took her kids with her. They're in the car. We have the ability to help. We have Operation Hope, Solutions for Change, the San Diego Rescue Mission. We have many wonderful places. We have Summer Stephan has set up One Safe Place in San Marcos. We have many great places where those who will accept our help can receive wonderful help from loving people and beautiful facilities. And I'm telling you, beautiful facilities. There's a lot of people out there that will shower people in need with love. But then we have another group, the unsheltered chronic homeless. These are the ones that we see when we're in our car on our way to the grocery store or work, and they're living underneath a bridge. They're dirty because they're not bathing. They don't get a change of clothes. They're not living inside. They don't have access to sanitary services. These are the folks who are largely addicted to narcotic drugs, and the ones who aren't addicted to narcotic drugs, which is a very small percentage of them, are suffering from even more severe mental disorder and disease. The American Psychiatric Association says that narcotic drug addiction is a mental disorder. So by definition, we can say about 100% of the people living outside, they are suffering from severe mental disease and disorder. That is according to the American Psychiatric Association. Why then do we, in a depraved fashion, have an argument in our society about whether or not individuals are choosing to live on the street? No one who is healthy mentally is making a choice to live on the street. In other words, being unsheltered, if there is a shelter bed available, if there is a pathway to get off the street, and if we've offered it to you, you should take it. Otherwise, it's evidence that you're not well enough to make good choices for yourself. The county is the organization that can enforce that. And we don't need to take every homeless person to conservatorship. That's not what I'm saying. But we have 6,600 people who are unsheltered on the streets of our county. We used to have almost 1,300 in conservatorship. When we approach somebody who's living in an encampment and we say, we hope you'll come with us to the shelter, but your other alternative is to stay right here. Those are your options. Stay here or come with us voluntarily. It's not a very compelling offer to somebody who's not making good choices because of a heroin, a meth, or a fentanyl addiction. In fact, when we try and get these people to eat, a lot of times they refuse to do that because the brain is so rewired. The pleasure centers, the dopamine production centers in their brain, they don't even want to eat. They just pursue more drug. So if we change the paradigm, we go back in time, just a very short period of time, and we make the paradigm, instead of do you want to stay here or get some help, we say, hey, you need help. Do you want to get some help on a voluntary basis? Come with us, work the program. Or if you don't come voluntarily, we're going to probably have to pursue, while protecting your civil liberties, we're going to have to pursue conservatorship, and we're going to have to get you the help that you need, because we're moral people, and we can see that you're suffering, and we're going to get you off the street, and we're going to get you into a treatment bed, and we're going to make sure that you're clean and have a proper restroom facility and clean clothes to wear and a clean bed to sleep in. I mean, if we love people, don't we give them clean clothes to wear and a clean bed and 3 hot meals a day? We don't force them to live on the street. Nobody's choosing to live on the street. Nobody's making that choice. It's only through illness and, in many cases, chemically rewiring the brain from addiction that people are being enslaved to addiction or mental disease, and they are being forced to live on the streets. And we are the ones that are forcing them to do that. So as a mayor, when I started to see this epidemic of homelessness spread across the county, and I started to see people, on the way into the grocery store that I had never seen before in Vista in all the years I've lived here, and all across our county, we started to see this explosion of people living on the streets. And I started to ask, what's going on and how do we fix it? And then I started to see this epidemic of shoplifting. And of course, first we saw it on Instagram and Facebook and the internet videos. And we said, well, that's something happening somewhere else. But then, Ken, I started to see it happen in front of me in Vista. I saw somebody stealing. I talked about that a few minutes ago. And, our laws are not being enforced. Civil order is breaking down. We passed AB 109. We've let 80,000, half of the state prison population, we let them out. So society's been turned on its head. We need the county to work, because the county is the mental health and the justice services for the county of San Diego. There's not a single mayor in this county who can succeed in their mission for a safer, cleaner city if the county does not function correctly. And if the criminal justice system that's administrated and funded by the county, if the mental health services administrated and funded by the county, if they don't work correctly, then there's not a single mayor in this county that can do their job in their city. So as a mayor, I'm stepping up, because Jim Desmond has been a great voice for common sense and sanity. He's going to be great in Congress, and I hope he wins. But we need a common sense leader to follow in his footsteps and to advocate on behalf of law-abiding citizens, people who are trying to grow and build our economy, people who are going to school, going to work, doing the right things, and all they want is to be safe in their community, and they want to be successful and prosperous. I'm going to fight for them, and I'm passionate about it. I hope you can see I really care about this fight, and that's the reason that I'm running for county supervisor.
It's a little bit more Democratic than Republican in this county, in this district. Is that right?
It is. There are more Democrat voters in this district than there are Republicans. The district voted about 4.5% for Kamala Harris for president. So,
Really?
It did, yeah. This is not a rock-ribbed conservative area, but, I'm not running, it's not a partisan seat. I think voters want a common sense, and especially when it comes to law and order, I think they do want a conservative thinker. They want somebody who's going to stand up for order in our community. And so I think I'm in a great place. I really believe that voters are responding overwhelmingly to my message. I get a lot of encouragement from people that say thank you for saying what's on my mind, and that is what keeps me going. You and I met almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was right when
the issue was whether or not the dogs would be on or off a leash in the public park.
Yeah.
And I'm tying this back together. I have said many times throughout the years, when asked about this marijuana issue that we spent a lot of time talking about today, there were way more people screaming and angry, I mean hundreds, about whether dogs would be on or off a leash in the public parks than there were about marijuana. And I've always remembered that. The third rail of city politics is not marijuana. It's whether or not dogs are going to be on or off a leash.
Well, it's funny. In Oceanside, Dog Beach, I think a majority of people do not want, they're all for dog parks, but a dog beach, that's a little bit different. And I think a majority of people do not want a dog beach in Oceanside. I'm pretty sure about that. I don't know exactly, but that's the reality here, even though dogs do rule the world here as they do everywhere else.
I wish the Oceanside City Council the best of luck in that issue.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And so we flopped a little bit in the last election here in Oceanside. The Vista, is it more blue or red right now?
Vista has a substantial number of Democrat voters. Vista also voted strongly for, Democrats at the top of the ticket, but is still preferring more conservative thinkers when it comes to the local issues in law and order. And, I don't try to run as a partisan. I try to run as a problem solver. I have a few Democrats locally that, including some on your council, that I speak to frequently about issues. We work together, and we try to solve problems together. And I think that's what voters want us to do. They want us to come together and find the middle ground. And I try and reject the extremist positions. Some folks on either side want to lead from the extremes, but I'm trying to bring us to the center and what I believe is the common sense majority.
And I must add here that Jimmy Figueroa does speak highly of you, and I think you have spoken highly of him.
Jimmy's one of those people that I'm able to have dialogue with. We worked together when he was executive director of Operation Hope in Vista. We've worked together on the homelessness problem, and I have a lot of respect for him. He's a good public servant.
You're not termed out, are you, in Vista? Or
no, we don't have term limits.
You don't have
Vista.
term limits.
But you know what? I'm concluding 14 years of service to the people of Vista, 2 on the water board. I was elected to the Vista Irrigation District in 2012, and 12 years on the city council, 4 of them as mayor. And I figure 14 years is enough at the city, and people must be tired of me by now. So for me, it's either up or out. If they want me to go on to the county, I'd like to do some good work there. I believe strongly that I can actually best serve the people of Vista in that position. It'll give me the opportunity to serve the people of Oceanside and a lot of other communities in North County, which, those of us who live here in North County on the 78 corridor, we really, we know we're all one community. We shop in each other's cities, and we're all one big connected community. For me, I'm really interested in fighting for the vitality of the 78 corridor, because this is where my wife and I live our lives, right here from Oceanside to Escondido and Valley Center and Fallbrook and all the way out to Borrego Springs. It's a beautiful place. We're really fortunate to call it home.
All right, John Franklin, thank you again for joining us on the Big Buccaneer Channel.
Big pleasure, Ken. Thank you.
Delicious.
I like it too. Yes, I do like it.
Delicious.
It's time for happy hour. That time on the Big Buccaneer Channel when we highlight an Oceanside eatery or nice spot that features food or drink specials during happy hour or anytime they want. Today, we go to Felix's Barbecue, which they have a happy hour 7 days a week from 3 to 6 p.m. And for $5, you get a glass of wine during happy hour. For $4, you get a domestic draft beer. For $6, you get an import beer. And all their well drinks during happy hour are $5. And then at Felix's Barbecue, They have called a lunchbox special from 11 to 4, and I think that's Monday through Friday, and it's $12, and it includes your entree and your side. The entree for $12. That's great. Includes the baby back ribs or barbecue chicken. Yes, thank you. The catfish or hot links sandwich. Now, the best thing I would think is to go there between 3 and 4 because then you get the lunchbox special and you can also take advantage of the happy hour drink special. See how that works? Okay. And then that's at Felix Barbecue, which is near the Junkyard, the restaurant bar called the Junkyard. And it is Front Wave Arena adjacent. It's in that general area. It's at 3613 Ocean Ranch Road, and that's Felix's Barbecue. We need more barbecue joints in Oceanside, don't you think?
Delicious.
Oh, have some more. Get the waiter and bring it. Put on the paper hat. Get out the lamp. I even like the cork.
And now it's time for a segment of the Big Buccaneer Channel where we drill, baby, drill. We'll take a deep dive into Oceanside's deep, rich past. Welcome to the Big Buccaneer Channel's Deep Roots Deep Dive. Oceanside has 4 sister cities, and if you go to the Oceanside City Hall, you'll see the one placard there. I think it's sort of in the ground for Pago Pago in Samoa. And the best I could tell from Christy Hawthorne, who is our Oceanside historian, the best we could tell is that Pago Pago became our first sister city in 1974. Then came Ensenada, of course, down in Baja, California. They became a sister city in 89. And then we had 2 other sister cities after that, Fuji City and then Kisarazu. And I think Kisarazu was the 4th one, and it became a sister city to Oceanside in 1990. Well, as it turns out, folks, we haven't done much sistering with Pago Pago or Ensenada, and but this summer, the 2 Japanese cities I mentioned are going to be sending a contingent of some representatives and some kids from middle schools and high schools from those 2 Japanese cities to visit Oceanside. I think they're going to have a little presentation at City Hall, and they're going to be hooked up with local families, I guess, who are going to host them, and that's very cool. And so they're going to be visiting us, the people from Kisarazu and Fuji City. They're going to come and be sister-like with us this summer. We don't have the exact date, but stay tuned for that. And we look forward to saying hello to them. And it was interesting. Now, I remember when this happened. There was a Oceanside police, I think he was a sergeant. His name was Oscar Mayo. And I remember, I think some people kind of had fun with his name because it sounded like Oscar Mayer. Anyway, Oscar Mayo was on the OPD, and he was sort of an informal ambassador to Ensenada, and he sort of was the reason that Ensenada became a sister city to Oceanside. And he died in his 50s of a heart attack while visiting Mexico City, and it was a big deal when that happened, getting his body back from Mexico City, and I think that was in the 80s, if memory serves. Oscar Mayo, one of Oceanside's finest, who helped Ensenada become one of Oceanside's 4 sister cities. Now it's time for the Oceanside Meter Reader, the segment where we gift a local person, place, or phenomenon on its degree of wonderfulness or worthlessness, with a rating from K Magnifique down to nuclear dumpster fire. You know, when I had a Oceanside's only local talk show on the radio, it was on Night Talk on AM 1000 KCEO from the late 80s to the early 2000s. We had on some homeless people from who went through Carlsbad, and they told us on the air how they were picked up by Carlsbad police and dropped off in Oceanside. And, well, guess what? Even though that was a while back, times haven't really changed. Thanks to an article by Phil Deal in the Union Tribune last week, which is entitled "Carlsbad to Prohibit Living in Vehicles on Streets," we learned that the City Council of Carlsbad voted unanimously that if you for whatever reason, cannot afford a home and you got pushed out and you have to live in your car temporarily until you can get back on your feet, that the Carlsbad sees you as a danger, and they're going to come after you and write you tickets. And they say, well, first, it's just a warning. But then guess what? Then they're going to be real tickets, and then those real tickets turn into fines. Can you imagine? You can't afford to pay rent, and so you're going to compound these people's troubles by giving them tickets. And if you get too many tickets, you go to jail. What a creepy, degenerate thing to do, Carlsbad. And then the police chief of Carlsbad basically says, oh, well, we need to get you to rehab. Well, guess what? Not every person living in their car is a druggie. For you to suggest that everybody who's living in their car is a druggie is revolting. What a creep. And it seems like there's an elitism in Carlsbad that trickles down from the top. And I think the Carlsbad chief of police is telling the council just what it wants to hear. Well, anyway, this is pathetic. And this gets the Carlsbad police chief and the Carlsbad city council the worst possible Oceanside meter reader ranking. It's a viral virus. It's a soiled diaper on the picnic table. It's this week's nuclear dumpster fire. All right, this has been episode 32 of the Big Buccaneer Channel, the Oceanside station, for March 12th, 2025. Next week, we've got some news that we'd like to share with you about what's happening with former City Councilman Christopher Rodriguez. If you would like to receive a copy of this show each week on a Wednesday or Thursday, give or take, it's osidebbbc@gmail.com. Email us. Thank you very much to Leslie Gall of Visit Oceanside. Thanks to Christy Hawthorne, our lovely and charming and so full of information Oceanside historian. And thanks to Vista Mayor John Franklin for coming back again. Well, actually, he didn't come back a second time, but we ran his second part of his interview today. Thank you very much, John Franklin. And of course, to audio engineer Von Ramirez. Until next week, this is Ken Treadway saying thank you, Oceanside.